welcome. This evening, we are going to be looking at an article in Education Week titled, Can Teachers Quiet Quit? This article actually came out recently, late August. And Ruben, I'm not sure if you are familiar, but there's a phenomenon going on in this country called quiet quitting. Young people are deciding to, you know what, I'm just going to do just the basics just to get by. Maybe that getting by is a D, right? Or at work, there are people at the workplace who are just doing what their job description states, but they're not going the extra mile, right? They're not looking to get that raise or to get promoted. They're doing their job and that's it. And in education, it's starting to hit the teachers. In this article, it states that about 45% of teachers are thinking about quitting, at least to a recent survey, in the next couple of years. And so, because people are just drained. And so, why is this happening? Well, some people believe it's because teachers, as you know, they do a lot of extra things. They stay after school. They give a lot of their money from their own pockets. And so maybe it's just a good idea is just to do your job and that's it. Come to clock in at 8 o'clock, 8:30, wherever you clock in, clock out at 3 o'clock, go home, right? It does state, Ruben, that there maybe teachers should create some boundaries, right? Like if you get those emails from a parent or from staff, just you know what, give yourself 24 hours to respond to it. Don't have to just respond right there. I'm not sure about you, but sometimes my students send me emails. They go, well, are you going to change my grade? Or, hey, what's going on? I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to it. I got it. And I know there's some good things here, but at the same time, I don't know how you feel, Ruben, but I feel like I can't quite quit. You know, this is the job. It's a job. And I signed up for it. It's not an 8 to 3, job. It's really is a 24-hour. At the same time, I do like the idea of setting up boundaries and so forth. What's your take on it?
I missed your point at the very end. You said something about your student asking you to give him their grade.
No, I'm sorry. Like when sometimes they send email saying, "Oh, this is what I turned in. Can you grade that right now?" I'm like, no. I mean, I'll get to it when I get to it. But it gets a little stressful when you get 2 or 3 kids, especially when grades are due, right? They get a little stressed out.
Yeah, I would put that in a different category. That's sometimes students will approach us, have a timetable that is very specific for them, but you can't fit it in your timetable. Different schedules here. I'm not gonna bend backward if I have my own schedule. For you, sometimes you have to give boundaries. I will say in general, I want to answer this question or this issue of quiet quitting in general. Yeah. And then in specific, I think in general, the idea, and maybe you didn't use these words, but I think some people might look at it like this in terms of what is my job description? I don't want to go beyond my job description, the bare minimum. And I will say that in general, I don't subscribe to that idea that you should just do your job description, do the bare minimum, because I've never had a job where I didn't have to go and do something that was beyond what I was asked in the job description. And I've always been happy to do it. And it always made me a better person, a better worker. Now, when I first got into education, I was a teacher's aide, and I wasn't supposed to teach necessarily. I wasn't teaching. I was supposed to support the teacher or get up and give lessons. But at some point, I was asked to do it. And I'm glad I said yes. And I think that it's a good approach to life and your own happiness. I think if you just sat there, and in my world, it's teaching and TA. If I just sat there and corrected paper, corrected, graded, moved on, and just put numbers in a score sheet or whatever, I would be unhappy. Now, in terms of specifically what you're bringing up in the classroom as teachers, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I think that sometimes we as teachers needlessly burn the candle at both ends. I think we needlessly take certain pieces of work home, and I can't judge people. I know for me, I've done this, and I'm trying to be better at managing my time, because haven't you been in the situation where you felt like, did I really need to put in all this time? It wasn't there an easy way of doing it? Haven't you been there?
Especially during meetings at school. I mean, did I need to put all that time into that meeting? But no,
Well, that's a
personally,
different issue.
yeah, I know. But personally, regarding
Meetings are also a waste of time for sure. For
that's,
sure.
that's another
But that's out
episode.
of our control. That's out
Right,
of
it
our
is.
control, right?
No, you're right though. Did I really need to spend that extra time doing that? Could I have managed my time a little bit better? Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I'm going to give a couple of examples in that article. We will link it, and we will link this article in the description. It's a very long article, just for
Sure.
the reader's sake, the viewer's sake. But uh, there was a point made at some point of the article where teachers were skipping their lunch and skipping breaks and skipping restroom breaks. To me, that's absurd. And I'll tell you why real quickly. Don't skip your lunch break if you eat lunch. I don't usually eat lunch, but sometimes I do. And it's like, but if I don't eat lunch, I might just relax in my classroom or do the work. I might have to be behind on something. But don't skip your lunch break if you're used to eating lunch. It's 25 minutes to eat lunch. Skipping restroom break, you have to go to the restroom or you're not going to this. To me, that's absurd because it's not that much time. You're not going to get that much done in 25 minutes. I'm sorry. The other thing is, I just want to point out some of these things that teachers, and I'm going to just, before I even say further, I know I have an advantage because I don't have children. And I know that teachers with children have another job altogether. And I recognize that. But I will point out some of the things I've done to avoid bringing work home. I always feel like if I have to bring work home, now this is me. If I have to bring work home, and sometimes I do, I feel like I've made an error. I've made a small error at work. Like I didn't judge the amount of work I could have finished at work, or I didn't get to work early enough. Because sometimes I get to work early, but once that bell rings at the end, I need that time off. But anyway, let me go over a few things they mentioned. Now my document's not working. Oh, here it is. It mentions that teachers will take papers home to grade and things like that. So one thing that I do, I really try to grade at school, and like some of the shorter term things that I do, like journals, I have them write journals at least once a week. I try to grade their journals right in class, right in front of them sometimes.
Right.
And that's even better for them. I find myself more interested in their work if they're sitting next to me and I'm grading it right next to them and I'm looking at them. It's more meaningful because don't you agree it's hard to grade papers by yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, when the student is around you, they have a face to that paper and it feels more meaningful.
Sure.
And it's not as difficult. So I recommend that. With longer assignments like projects, and when I say project, that could be just a performance or a presentation. That's great. Those are great, right? Because you can grade right there. But if it's like an essay, I know if you have 35 students, 40 students in your class, you might have to take it home. But I will say the apps that are here now, I don't know, man. I never grade at home. I have other paperwork I have to do that I do at home, but not grading, even with essays, because I can get it done at work. Because the apps allow me, and Jake, do you have in Schoology these apps that can, with the click of a button, tell the student topic sentence does not meet standard? Like that much? Can you do that with the click of a button?
For Schoology, regarding like topic sense and like that, I don't, and maybe someone in the audience will correct me, but I don't recall having that. I don't remember seeing that.
Okay.
I do there. Well, actually, you can write some messages on the document, of course, and give them input. So you could do that. But an automatic button, I don't remember seeing that. I know I could just write it, and it goes right into.
It's available in Google Classroom, and
okay.
The problem is I'm doing Canvas now, and it might be available too in Canvas. I just have to I'm still learning Canvas, but
yeah.
But the apps really help in solving that problem. And if anything, um, even with Google Canvas, you could still, if they send a Google Doc to you, you can just sort of click on and give feedback pretty quickly, even without the touch of a button. I think it's really manageable. Maybe I'm being insensitive, but I'm just trying to help
No, I don't think
people
you're.
in trying to minimize the work. Because in a way, or minimize the time, in a
Yeah.
way, quiet quitting, there's some truth to it. If you're overly working,
Yeah.
if you're not doing what's essential and
Maybe
not
just
and
managing your
cutting
time
off.
better. That's what we're saying, right? Manage your time better.
And I'm not again, yeah, you're right. It's more of an encouragement. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to make any judgments. And the thing about emails, because they're mentioning emails,
Yeah.
I get a lot of emails too, and I'm trying to do the whole reply right away so that I don't have to remember.
Right.
That's not always possible, but if it's sometimes it's good to have an allotted time in the week to answer the emails.
Mm.
Or all emails once or twice a week. Okay, let me go back to my emails. I don't know.
Oh.
Last thing I want to say is that I think that it's pretty critical that you don't work all the way through as a teacher from whenever you start work. Let's say you get there at 7:30. Let's say you leave at 4. I think it's not wise to work all the way through because you're not going to be as good of a teacher.
No.
So part of my conference period, I take a break. I take a walk because I have it all in my mind, or I have it all on the page, and now it's in my mind on what to do. And I've been working on it on the doc. Let's say it's a lesson plan, but I have to visualize it. And sometimes taking a walk allows me to do it because it's got to be good. And how are you going to present what you're doing to the students? Sometimes you need to decompress, even if it's just for 15 minutes. So part of my conference period, I walk off the campus.
That's great. When you were saying that you take that little break, I do the same thing, Ruben. I used to feel guilty about that, like taking 15, 20 minutes just to decompress. Either walk around like you do, walk around the campus, or just take a little walk, or just even sit there sometimes and just relax. Why not? Because you're gonna have another class coming up right after that, and you're more fresh. I know a lot of times, during the day, I usually have my conferences towards the end of the day lately, and it's tough because you're working so hard throughout the day, and then you get there and hey, why not rest a little bit and then get ready for that last class or that next class you're going to have, because it's daunting if you're not ready for them. And the kids know when you don't have that energy. And I'm not sure about you, but a lot of times I feel like I just want to have the same energy I had in the beginning to the end. And sometimes I know I lose it, and and sometimes you just need that little 15 minutes at least just to get refreshed. But yeah, I think a lot of these items in the quiet quitting, yes, there's some things that we should, say, hey, let's look at how we're managing our time and let's just make some changes there. But the whole idea of just saying, oh, 9 to 3, no, or 8 to 3, no, we're going to definitely, as teachers, going to do some extra stuff. But do we have to do so much extra? I think that's what you're saying, Ruben, and we don't have to.
I think it's a great exercise to try to get it all done between 8 and 3.
Sure.
I think that it's a great mental exercise too, to think, is there a more efficient way of doing X that I haven't been doing? And so that's a good exercise because I always have to ask myself, because I don't think I'm the best at this. I think sometimes I go too long on a task. By the way, sometimes you could cheat. And what I mean by that is I took a phone call from a parent who I was trying to get a hold of, a student presenting a behavioral problem. And I took a call from them in class. Now, I could have just let it go to voicemail and deal with her. But I said, you know what, I'm going to take this call. The student wasn't in the class, but they don't know whose parent it is. They could tell it's a parent. Yes, this student has really given me a tough time. And I'll take it in class. And they were busy doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I answered a few questions she had, and it was great. But I don't know. Maybe it doesn't look good to take a phone call in class. And it's very rare that I do. In fact, I never
Sure.
have. I don't usually do that. But I did yesterday. And hey, there is a task I won't have to do later.
Right.
After school.
Well, thank you. With that, Ruben, and just even the things that were brought up in this article. And again, like Ruben shared, we're going to go ahead and link it to this video, this episode. Also, if you haven't subscribed, hey, press that button, and we appreciate that. And for that, have a good evening, and we'll see you soon. All right, goodbye.